Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping and I'm an Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in New Zealand. And today I thought I'd share with you how I made this card. The way it came about that I decided I'd make this card today was that a few days ago I did a post on my Jan Clothier Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator business page about why I make cards, and I showed a selection of cards that I'd made. And I had some requests for how did I make them. Well, one of them was already a tutorial that I've done on my channel. One was a card that I made for a tutorial bundle that I give away free with purchase this month. And that left the third one, which is this one, which I actually made a little while ago. So I actually had to scurry away and think about how I made it. And so I'm going to have a go at making it again for you today. So it uses the Quiet Meadow bundle, which was one of the first things I bought out of last year's catalogue, because I love these kind of eclectic bitsy stamp sets. So the Quiet Bundle Meadow, gosh, haven't had enough coffee this morning. The Quiet Meadow bundle is what I've used to make it with. So what we need in terms of paper and bits and pieces, well, I've used a thick white card base. It is half of an A4 paper cut long ways and scored at 14.8. If you are not a metrics person, then just use whatever your standard card base size is. So, and I've tent folded it, so because we are going to do a little bit of cutting on it shortly. So that's the base. In addition to that, I've also got a little bit of extra thick white cardstock cut at 10.5 centimetres, which is half the width of a piece of paper. So if you were doing it in imperial, whatever half width of paper is for you. And we're going to need that to do a few little extra strips and bits. So you'll need that. For the inside, I've done a piece of bubble bath, 10 centimetres by 14.3, so that's half a centimetre smaller than the card front, and if you're an imperial person, think 1/4 of an inch. Half a centimetre is approximately 1/4 of an inch. So 10 by 14.3 bubble bath, and then onto that I've put a piece of basic white, half a centimetre smaller again, so that's 9.5 centimetres by 13.8, and that's for the inside, so we'll just pop that away for now. Now you're going to need another bit of basic white to do some die cutting with. So I have used that die and I've cut 2 of those, and we'll be doing some work on those, so we'll pop them over there. And I have cut out of soft seafoam one of these, so we'll pop that there for later. And for the sentiment, again, you're going to need a little piece of basic white. I have used the Thinking of You out of here, and there is this lovely little die cut label from the Quiet Meadow bundle that I've used for that. Now I've stamped that in Smoky Slate. I think here on my original one I used grey granite, but I decided I'd go with Smoky Slate today. And that's pretty much all the bits and bobs that you need. So then we get on to, well, how do we make it? Okay, so we've got our tent fold base, and before I do anything else to it, I'm just going to do a little touch of stamping. So I'm going to take the Smoky Slate and I'm going to take this background sort of distressed text, and I'm going to do just a little bit of stamping now, because I don't put the backings on my stamps. I'm just going to have a little look to make sure it's up the right way. Yep, it is. So I'm just going to do just a couple of those in the background. And I'm also going to take some Lemon Lolly and that little splatter stamp. And I'm just going to do just a little bit of splat, just to give a little bit of colour in the background. Okay. Now, I could do this after I've done the cutting and assembling of the rail fencing, but I've decided that I'm going to give it a try doing it this way. So now that I've done that, I'm going to get my card front and my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to cut myself some strips which are 1.5 centimetres wide, which is approximately 3/4 of an inch if you are an imperial person. So 1, 2, 3. Now I am keeping these in order because I've done the stamping already. Now I'm doing 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more. 6. Now if I hadn't already done the stamping, I wouldn't have to be so fussy about keeping them in order. So we'll soon see whether I should have done the stamping first or second. Right, now out of the spare piece of thick white cardstock that's the same width as the card front, 10.5, I'm going to cut one more strip. That's 1.5 centimetres. Now I'm going to cut 2 strips slightly narrower than that. I'm going to cut them 1.3. Like, there's nothing magic in that number, it's just a number which is slightly less than 1.5. And I'm just going to put those off to the side in a different place so I don't get them mixed up with the strips that are 1.5. Okay, and now we don't need that anymore, so that can go over there. And we don't need the paper trimmer anymore, so that can go over there. So now it's time to actually start assembling our little fence, our little railing. So I'm going to take a piece of washi tape, and I want it to be long enough to go from the flap down past the flap. So I'm just going to rip off a piece of washi tape. Now I'm putting this so it's the sticky side up. So I've just attached it to the flap. I might give it a bit more of an attach. This is going to give me something to hold everything together. So I'm going to just line it up with my grid paper, because I also want the grid paper to help me with, keeping things straight. And then I'm going to get another piece of washi tape. Oops. Just going to line that up again. And my washi tape there is just to help hold that washi tape down. It doesn't matter that it's a bit crooked. And then I'm going to use post-it notes, flying post-it notes, to just hold that steady for me while I do my railing. Now now that that's a bit firmer, I can just get that a bit tighter. And so now I've got a little line of sticky washi tape over that bit that's all sliced off. And now I'm going to start putting in my railings. Now I'm going to start with the bottom one, because getting the bottom lined up is quite important. So you want to make sure that that way. I want to make sure that the sides are lined up and the bottom's lined up. It's getting that bottom one right that's the most important. And then I'm going to go top and bottom, just leaving a little gap and using the sides and keeping an eye on the grid paper to help keep me straight. I'm going to hope that everything turns out right. So we're just lining up the sides. Whoops. Whoops. Actually, I'm going to replace that one with that one. Okay, and so now I've got a bit of a, I've got my things on, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the other 2 strips that I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Oops. Don't like the look of that one. It doesn't look straight. I'll have that one instead. Okay, so now that I'm kind of just, I'm sorry, I'm just stopped talking because I'm thinking about ordering things. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some glue. And again, I'm going to use my grid paper here. So I'm going to come in 1.5 centimeters or 3 squares. And 1, 2, 3, that's where I'm going to put my support strut. So I'm going to get my glue and I'm just going to give myself a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to come in 3 squares or 1.5 centimeters, and I'm going to attach that one, and then I'm going to do the same this way. I'm going to come in 3 and glue, 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 just a little bit of glue, don't need much. Okay, and then I'm going to use the grid paper and my eyeball to line those up. Okay, so now we can take those away. Can lift up our washi tape. Now, when we open up, this is why I wanted my 2 narrower strips. Now the 2 narrower strips that I did them narrower because I'm going to put them here to just reinforce the whole of this sort of fence rail structure. So I'm going to just put some glue. And the reason I made them a couple of millimeters narrower is so I didn't have to worry about whether or not they were going to show through on the right side, because they're just that little bit narrower. Okay. And same on the other side. Okay, lined up with the bottom. And now this is a step you don't actually have to take, but I think it's worth doing because it just makes it sit better on the, when it's open, it sits better because it's just got that little bit of extra strength. Okay, so now we're just going to peel off that washi tape, hopefully without incident. Okay, we'll pop that over in the rubbish. So now we've got our nice little gate. What we're going to do next is we're going to emboss it. Now I've chosen to use the timber embossing folder because I wanted it to look a bit like a fence railing. I wanted to kind of imagine a garden fence and some flowers against the garden fence. So really you can use any embossing folder that you like, but that's why I've chosen to use this one. And so you just kind of line it up at the fold. So now we've got our nicely embossed little timber railing all ready to decorate up. Now we're going to just do some sponging onto these die cut shapes. And I'm going to use soft sea foam and bubble bath to do that. You do have to be a little bit careful with it because that's quite a delicate little piece there and we don't want to rip it off. So as you are doing your sponging, make sure you hold it carefully and firmly. Because you don't, and be a little bit gentle because you just don't want to rip it apart. Okay, so now we've got our 2 little sponged flowers and we've got our leaf spray and we have got our sentiment. So it is time to start putting things together. And it's kind of a fun bit, the arranging bit. Right, so we're going to have a little spray. I'm going to take my little piece of paper here and just pop it underneath. just in case in the act of gluing I get it, it's just easier to see. It's just easier to see if you've got something underneath it. Right, so now we're going to pop that there. Now, one of these we are going to give him, excuse me, we're going to give him a wee bit of a trim to make him a bit shorter. So we'll start with there and see how that goes. Yeah, I think that'll be nice. And they're thinking of you. Yes. Now, the next thing we're going to do is the sentiment. And we're going to pop him up on dimensionals. I'm just testing this out because there's quite a bit of height there. So I may not need a dimensional at that end. I'm just going to play with that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm only putting a dimensional at those two there because there's the bar and there's 3 layers of die cuts there. So I'm not going to dimensional that end. I'm just going to put a little blobby of glue there just to hold it to the rest of the things. Now, if you see anything that I've used today that you would like to add to your craft room stash and you live in New Zealand, then please shop with me. There's a link to my online store in the video description below and through the links which are going to pop up in the end card in a moment. So, here we go. Now pop that in there. Get rid of the scrap. And we're going to get this piece here, get our inside and attach it. Now, obviously you could stamp it, but you have got that railing there and things might show through. So it's really up to you how much you decorate your inner, bearing in mind that glimpses of it will show through the card front. I'm just content to have that nice little edging of bubble bath. But, you know, that's a matter of personal preference. You're more than welcome to stamp it if you want to. Okay, and then the very final thing we need is a bit of bling. And I have used the iridescent rhinestones because, firstly, well, they are a favourite of mine because, if you've watched me before, you'll know this, because I like things... Oh, helps if I have the bit with the rhinestones on it, because I like the fact that there are 3 sizes, and I think that's nice to have that variety of sizes. I also like the way they pick up the light, and they do tend to pick up the colours of things that they are near. So if you're using it with a strong colour, it does tend to pick up that colour. So let us give ourselves 3 nice little bits of bling to finish off with. Here we go, and there is our Quiet Meadow garden railing thinking of you card. Slightly different to my original. I think I might have used a different pink there on my original. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching that. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer questions, and you can contact me through the links which are about to pop up in the end card and in the video description below. Don't forget that if you live in New Zealand and you've seen anything that you've liked, you're more than welcome to shop with me, and there's a link to my online store in the description below. If you've liked what you've seen and you haven't subscribed, please do so you don't miss anything new that I do. And above all else, everyone, happy stamping.